Well, I get ready to go in and update the recoil tests for all the guns because I was curious. And Ubisoft announces some permanent recoil changes that will make all of this irrelevant.
And so we're really excited to announce that coming in the future, so in not Season 3, but coming with an upcoming technical test.
Just say
in,
it. Spit it out, Justin.
All right, I'll say it. We're removing the potential for RNG for your recoil. So all weapons will have a predictable recoil pattern, which means you'll be able to learn them. You'll be able to learn them through muscle memory, and it also makes shooting more skill-based. It makes it more accurate, and makes it have you less those spray and pray moments where you're really just kind of like spraying and trying to
it's removing
control the
removing
recoil,
one of the only remaining RNG factors in Rainbow Six. I mean, that having a predictable recoil pattern means you know what is going to happen when you hold down left click.
Right.
So back to the video I was making before they announced this change. What you're seeing is the various attachments that actually have an effect on recoil side by side simultaneously. So on the left, there's no attachments at all. The second left is the flash hider, the first right is the compensator, and the far right is the muzzle brake. The flash hider does appear to be doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is a reduction in the recoil for bursts. So if you look real close there, you can see the first 4, 5-ish rounds are all pretty tightly grouped. There's a little bit of side-to-side spread, but it's not bad. The compensator does exactly what it is supposed to do, and that is bring that side-to-side in a little bit better and a little bit more consistency. So if you look at the difference between the flash hider and the compensator, you'll see that the flash hider is kind of all over the place. When it comes to its side-to-side recoil, there's no real consistency to the value that's being represented. The compensator, however, becomes much more uniform. You still end up with spread because there is still spread. The compensator only reduces it by a certain percentage, but it does tighten the side-to-side up. So if you've got a gun that you like to use, but it's got wicked side-to-side, something like the MP7 for Bandit or Buck's assault rifle, and even the Para 308, which is what I did the tests with, has some pretty decent side-to-side. You can rein that in. The muzzle brake, however, is interesting because the muzzle brake originally, when it came out, was the king of all attachments because it kind of did both of those things combined. It did the vertical recoil reduction of the flash hider and the side-to-side recoil of the compensator, and it was godlike. I mean, that was the only thing you needed was the muzzle brake. They have since changed that, and they changed it quite a while ago. Not everybody noticed, to where it's meant for first shot vertical recoil reduction, and it does that really well. It's actually, as best the math we can get, it's about 15%, whereas the flash hider is only about 10%. Now the flash hider's effects are supposed to last longer. It's supposed to be for short bursts, so you should see that 10% reduction through the first, 5-6 shots or something. If you look at the grouping, you can actually see where there's a clear delineation between when the compensator's effect starts to lose its effectiveness. However, because the muzzle brake's first shot recoil reduction is so powerful, and the subsequent recoil of the gun after the first shot isn't that strong, you end up with these really tight groupings with the muzzle brake that are actually tighter than the flash hider. And I ran this test on a ton of different guns, and it was the same. You get this sort of ripple effect from the muzzle brake, where because the first shot recoil is so low, the follow-up shot recoil doesn't have as much of an impact. So even though it's really only supposed to affect the first shot, it kind of reins everything in, even though it's not really supposed to be doing that anymore. I don't know if they went in and changed this and just didn't bother to tell anyone, but this is what it is right now. I ran these tests on the live servers after Blood Orchid, and actually on the test servers before Blood Orchid went live, and had the same results again. So they didn't do any changes to this, as far as I can tell, in the Blood Orchid update. Now, this all becomes irrelevant once they spit out the predictable recoil patterns for every single gun. Every single gun's going to have a different one, and it completely removes this RNG factor. That's great. It raises the skill ceiling. It does raise the skill ceiling because the people that are really good at memorizing and adjusting to these patterns are going to be the guys that have amazing aim. If you want the short version of the story, if you've got a gun that's got hardcore side-to-side recoil and that's the thing you have trouble controlling, do the compensator. That will be your baby. If you've got the option to do compensator and vertical grip, that will provide you the best of both worlds. If you have trouble controlling your vertical, flash hider and vertical grip if it's available. You might try the muzzle brake. I'm still using muzzle brake on guns that I shouldn't be using the muzzle brake on, so it is still very applicable. And with these tests, you can clearly see that that effect is still happening, even though it's not supposed to after the first shot. So, if you want to use the muzzle brake, you still can. It still works great. However, if you need to rein in your side to side, then you might want to look at a compensator. So I use the compensator on Buck's rifle, and I think the MP7, and I think that's it. If you're going to shoot in small bursts, there's no reason to pick the flash hider. If you're going to keep your shot selection down to like 4 or 5 per burst, you're getting a better effect out of the muzzle brake simply because it ripples that first shot recoil effect. If you're going to do longer bursts, if you're spraying and praying or drop shotting and you have to hold the trigger down forever, flash hider. Flash hider, you clearly get, a good 6 or 7 rounds before that effect becomes more manageable and you can control. So the flash hider all day if you're going to hold the trigger down. But otherwise, muzzle brake's still a viable option, or at least it appears to be. If you've got some tests to prove me wrong, by all means, throw them at me, because I'd love to see them, because this should not be happening. But it is. Like I said, all of this becomes relevant once they release their lovely new predictable recoil pattern. So when that happens, I will put out another video and I will show you every single gun's predictable recoil pattern. But until that time, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you're not a subscriber already, please subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get all my notifications. Toss a like and a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.